Imagine you could just wake up tomorrow and be effortlessly good at something. Not just decent, not just getting by, but deeply confident. Maybe it's speaking up in a room full of people without your voice shaking. Maybe it's making quick decisions without doubting yourself. Maybe it's carrying yourself with the kind of calm certainty that makes others lean in and listen. This is episode 17, about someone who kept waiting for the right moment until he realized the right moment begins the moment you start. Daniel lived most of his life quietly on the edges. He was competent, dependable, the kind of person who always got things done behind the scenes. But when people asked him about his strengths, he froze. He'd laugh it off, wave the question away. "I'm not really the strengths type," he'd say. "I'm just average." Inside, though, he envied those who could point to their gifts with ease. The friend who called himself a leader. The colleague who claimed strategic thinking as if it was stitched into his DNA. Daniel didn't see any of that in himself. He thought strength was something you were born with, not something you built. Then came the moment that broke that belief apart. He was in a team meeting, a discussion that spiraled into confusion. Everyone was talking over one another, but then one of his colleagues turned to Daniel and said, "What do you think? You're good at cutting through the noise." The room quieted. His chest tightened. He wanted to disappear. Something about that phrase, "you're good at cutting through the noise," stuck with him. It was the first time someone had named a strength he couldn't see. Still, Daniel resisted. He told himself, "That's not me. I'm not a natural leader. I don't have the presence. I'd need years of practice to even come close." His mind whispered excuses. "Leave it to the naturals. You're safer staying small." But a few nights later, unable to sleep, Daniel opened his journal and wrote down the words he'd been avoiding. "If I could master one strength, what would it be?" His pen hovered in the air, his hand unsteady. Finally, he wrote, "Confidence in speaking up." Just seeing it on the page felt dangerous, like he'd crossed into forbidden territory. The next day, he decided to test himself in the smallest way. In another meeting, instead of shrinking back, he set a timer in his head, 30 seconds, and spoke one clear thought before anyone else could take the floor. His voice cracked a little, but he got through it. That was his first step. Risky, unfamiliar, but intentional. Of course, it wasn't smooth after that. After his first attempts, the silence felt heavier than any applause. Sometimes his point landed flat, and the old doubts came rushing back. "See? You're not built for this. Stop embarrassing yourself." But there were also flickers of light, moments when someone nodded, or built on his thought, or even sought him out after to ask more. Those were small victories, allies along the way. The turning point came weeks later. He was asked unexpectedly to give a short presentation on a project he'd been leading quietly in the background. His chest burned with fear. His old voice told him, "Say no, pass it on, you'll fall apart." But something else, smaller, steadier, said, "Now." Those 7 minutes on stage felt like an ordeal. His hands trembled, his throat dried, but as he spoke, he caught sight of a colleague nodding. Eyes locked on him, then another. By the time he finished, the room was clapping. Not wildly, not like a movie, but enough. Enough for Daniel to realize he hadn't just survived it, he'd grown through it. That was his reward, not perfection, not overnight mastery, but proof. Proof that confidence was not some distant gift he lacked. It was a muscle he could train. And with each repetition, each deliberate action, it grew stronger. From then on, Daniel began to live differently. He made it a habit to speak once in every meeting. He sought out mentors, not to idolize them, but to study their rhythms. He filled his environment with examples of the strength he wanted until it began to feel natural in him too. And the real turning point came months later. A new hire asked him a question he used to ask himself. "How do you do it? How do you speak with such confidence?" Daniel smiled. He realized that he had become the kind of person he once wished he could be. That was the truth he carried forward. The truth he now carried: strengths don't take years to build. They're built from moments of courage, one after another. They take small, steady actions that compound, until one day someone else looks at you and sees the very strength you once doubted. So now I turn this mirror back to you. If you could master one strength, what would it be? Not in 10 years, not in some imagined future version of yourself, but now. What's the one strength you quietly wish you had? The one you'd write in your journal if no one else could see it? Because mastery doesn't start with perfection, it starts with choosing. And maybe with just 30 seconds of courage.